you'll have to make an account on itch.io. This is pretty easy to do. It's just like any other web service that you would use. Um, Once you make an account, you'll need to use your email, obviously. You can use whatever email you prefer for that. Once you make an account and you're ready to create a post, you can use the drop down here and go to upload new project. And you can basically, fill out this setup. I'll go over a few things. You don't need to do everything on here, but I'll go over a few things, and then we'll create a jam to collect everything. So you can make a title for your project. You can call it Maze Game, or if you have a name for your project, you can do whatever. It's going to create a project URL, and you can change that if you want to. It'll generate it based on the title, but you can set that to be whatever you want. And then for classification, you could just use the default games. And for kind of project, downloadable is fine. For release status, it doesn't really matter, but I would put in development here. And then for pricing, just put no payments. You can use Itch to have people pay for your projects, but you have to set up a credit card and stuff. So we're just going to leave that as no payments. Then you can upload the project. So you're going to want to upload both the Mac and the Windows build. When you click upload, it'll just open, a regular window. You can go to your project and go to your builds folder, and then you can just upload the Mac DMG file directly. And you want to make sure to tag the correct type of platform for each build. So the Apple or Mac is the little Apple logo, and you only want to tag one for each. That way people won't download the wrong thing. If you want to replace the build, you can do that. So after you publish the project, if you make changes to the game, you can always go back and replace the build. You can delete this file and add a new build, or you can just add multiple builds if you want to. So then we'll upload the Windows. Remember that for the Windows build, you don't want to upload just the exe file. People won't be able to run this. So if you're on a Windows machine, just keep that in mind. And also when you're on Mac and you're doing the Windows build, you can't just do the exe build. You have to have both the exe and the pack file. So you need to make a zip of both of those files into another folder, and then you can upload that zip. So if you don't do that, it's just not going to run on anybody's computer. So tag that as the Windows build, and then you've got your uploads. In the details, when we do user testing, we'll add a form here. So we'll add a little link here. For now, you can just say, here is my game from MMP 271. Or if you want to add more details here, you can. If you want to add tags, you can. Like you could add Godot. You could add, 3D or whatever. That'll make it easier for other people to find it if they're looking for it. But you don't have to do that, obviously. They require an AI generation disclosure. If you're using any AI generated, textures or models or text or anything else, just click yes here. For most people, this should be no. None of the default assets that we're using are made with AI, so you can probably just click no there. Then you can turn comments on or off if you want to. Normally we would do comments on for people to comment on stuff, but we're going to do some other user testing stuff when we come back. And then make sure to set it to public. If it's not public, people won't be able to access it. So when if you can make the whole project, but if you don't make it public, when people go to download it, they're just going to see a 404 page. You can also add an image here if you want. That's helpful, for the listing and stuff like that. We have some documentation, so you might be able to find a screenshot of your work, or you could create a screenshot to add as some documentation, or as the cover image. And you can add more images if you want to. And so that's what it's going to look like. You can make some changes here. You can change like the color of the background or the links, or you can change the font if you want. There's different visual changes that you can make. You don't have to do that, but if you want to make it look different, you can do that. That's the edit theme button. If you want to make changes to the listing, you can go back to edit game, and you can make changes here and then save it. So yeah, we can save. And for some reason, this default public access setting says disable new downloads and purchases. We got to turn that off to make it downloadable. So make sure to do that as well. Once you do that, you'll see the Mac build and the Windows build. People can download whichever one obviously matches their machine, and then they can run those builds. Once you have this set up, you'll be able to add it to the game jam. I'm going to go ahead and make that right now. So I'm going to go to a new tab and go to itch.io, and we'll take a look at what this looks like. So besides individual projects, you can also make jams. And so I usually make a game jam. You can see some of the jams that we did for our projects last semester. And so usually I make one because it's an easy way to collect all the projects from the class, so we don't have to post links or send links to each other. So I'm going to create a new jam. I'm going to call this Maze Project Jam Spring 2025. And we'll say it's non-ranked, and we'll open the submissions today, and we'll leave them open until our next class is the 25th. Do a day after that just so we don't have to run out of time. And I'm not going to put a lot of other stuff in here. I'll make it unlisted, so it'll just be for us. And so when you're ready, when you have your project ready, you can join the jam. If you make updates to the build, those updates will still work. So once you join the jam, even if you make updates to your game, you don't have to rejoin it or anything. This is a preview link, but let me get a real link. I guess I have to do published and unlisted. Okay, so now we have a real link. I'll put this on the Open Lab and Brightspace so you can access it. But when you have your project, if you go to this page and click join, it'll add you to the jam. So now I've joined, but I haven't actually submitted the game. So you have to do both. So I've joined the jam, but now I have to submit the project. I'm going to choose my Maze project, and I'm going to submit. And then when I go to submissions page, you'll see your project come up, and whatever image you add is what will show up there. So it's good to add an image there. And then once everybody adds their projects on here, we'll all be able to see them, and we'll be able to download them when we do our user testing. So that's basically the whole process. It's pretty straightforward. You don't have to submit your game today. Obviously, it's not due for a couple weeks, but I would try just making the account and just setting it up. You can always update it later, but if you do that in class today, you'll go through the process and you'll be able to make sure that you can do everything correctly before we leave class. The project's not due until our next class when we'll have our user testing session. Yeah, that's basically the whole process. Again, if you want to make changes to the game, if you make a change over the next couple of weeks and you want to update the build, just go back to edit game and just add a new build here. And your submission will still work. It'll still go to the same place. It'll still have the same URL, so you don't have to resubmit it. You just have to update the build here. All right, so that's basically the process. Any questions on any of that? All right. So for the rest of the class, we'll have some workshop time. I encourage you guys to take advantage of this time. We don't have our next class for 2 weeks. You are able, obviously, to come to the makerspace and use the computers and work on stuff at other times, but we're not going to have another class before we do user testing for this project. So we want to come to the beginning of our next class with projects that are ready to be tested and used. And I encourage you guys to use the class time we have to really, build out the game as much as you can and do something that you're proud of sharing with your classmates and you'll get good feedback on. I encourage you to try to make something that you'll want to use in the future for your portfolio and something that you'll be able to build on. And we have a lot of class time now for you guys to take advantage of that time and try to make something that's engaging and interesting and that you'll be proud to show to your classmates and other people. So if you want feedback on what you're working on, if you want me to take a look at things, I will be happy to do that. If you have any errors or things that you need help with, I can help out with that. And make sure that you at least try to make a build, even if you're not 100% done yet, because you're going to want to be able to do that. And if you don't do it before you leave class, you may have a hard time doing it on your own if you run into errors. So it's a good idea to try to do that before we go at the end of class. All right, any questions? Is that everybody's good? All right.